wanting to measure correctly. The water's got, you see that little dip in it.
Aim Higher Ambassador Daniel Wright is doing his A-levels at Barnsley College in South Yorkshire. His ambition now is to go to university to study chemistry. But for some time it was assumed that Daniel would work in the family shop.
All symmetrical, aren't they?
When I was growing up, I helped out quite a lot, and it was expected of me, and it was expected really that I would continue the business. My mother's quite happy for me to go my own way in life and be what I want to be, but my father, having owned a shop and being quite successful in his own life without actually going through much of an education, wasn't really keen on the idea of me going to university or into further education even, because he found his way without it. It just naturally expected me to carry on the business, but I always aspired to do more, and initiatives like Aim Higher have helped with that and made me want to be more than I am and more than I would be otherwise.
Children as young as 10 are now benefiting from Aim Higher, the government-funded programme that aims to increase the number of learners going on to higher education, particularly young people from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Well, I've been talking to the student next to the dog. It's kind of been really fun.
This is his front leg. It's the same as your arm.
When you're in school, you don't know what to do when you're older, but then when you see other people, like what they've achieved, it's like really good, and it helps you, like you might want to do that job as well.
Many of us we're talking about what we want to be when we grow older, and I wanted to be a vet, and I was really excited coming here.
The children in Year 6 of St Mary Magdalene School, an inner-city London primary, are in no doubt why meeting students at the Royal Veterinary College is a good idea.
Because it shows you like you can do this, you can do the stuff what they're doing when you're older.
Hear it yet? Let me just check if I've got it in the right place.
Arranging university visits like this is a key aspect of Aim Higher's work.
I hear it.
Yeah, you've got it.
When we first started the Aim Higher programme, it was a 14 to 19 initiative, so we started in secondary schools with Year 9. But increasingly we're realising that young people do become disaffected at a very young age, particularly in the areas where our schools are, where they probably think university will not be for them.
Lame jelly.
So we've now decided to try going in from primary. This is the top form of the primary school, and we just want to put the idea into their head that university is for everybody who wants to go and who works at it.
Research has indicated that as early as primary school level is where people think about their future lives. The work that we've done, bringing them into a range of universities and showing the primary school pupils that the sort of different things you can do is really important. Because there still is views that university is about a traditional, a small range of subjects. University offers a massive range of courses. And I think even at primary school level, getting that idea across to the young pupils is really important.
Anyway, it's your choice.
Hey, it's your career.
Your life. Nobody else's, not even mine.
The Impact Theatre Group delivers the Aim Higher message in a secondary school. Year 10s meet university lecturers at an Aim Higher science fair.
They go away and are rinsed down the sink.
There are many ways that Aim Higher is working to raise young people's aspirations and provide information and advice on opportunities in higher education. Aim Higher consists of 40 different partnerships across the country, each made up of schools, colleges of further education and universities, all working together.
Like other teachers more relaxed in university.
Current students are employed to visit schools as ambassadors to answer questions on university life.
How long are lectures?
The lectures varies basically, but I don't think any lectures basically go over 3 hours. Sometimes you have 2-hour lectures.
A lot of young people, especially in the areas that we work with, see university as a cross between something you see from Cambridge and Harry Potter. And only very posh people can go who come from a certain background. And we're there, the Student Ambassador Scheme there is to break down those barriers and get the young people to actually think, I can do that, and to raise their aspirations.
Basically, I think the kids don't really see us as like figures of authority. I think seeing someone like me, like I'm not too far from their age, I sort of like look like them, I dress like them, you know. So if I'm talking to them, they'll be able to relate to me more, basically.
No one in my family has ever been to university. You don't really think of university as a real place. It's just words to people, because you never meet it, you never see it. There isn't one in Barnsley. People, you need aim higher to show you what it's like, to take you there, and that's exactly what it does, and it made me want to go.
I think there's a lot more chance for people that come from my background, not a typically academic or really rich background, to actually go to university. I mean, I think it's a lot fairer than it used to be. I mean, unless you came from a middle class or upper class background, you didn't have a chance of getting in at all.
Rosie Guillen-Beebe benefited from campus visits organised by Aim Higher. She's now in her second year of a BTEC National Diploma in Music Practice at City and Islington College, and has been offered a place at university in the autumn.
Through Aim Higher, we went on a trip. It gave me sort of a knowledge of what uni would be like if I were to attend. University used to be a word that frightened me, because I was like, oh, it's a place where it's full of maturity, it's full of courses that you don't dream of being on. Visiting that trip kind of made it a lot more easier. It made me realise it's not that bad. It's just being focused and doing what you want to do to get a great outcome.
Rosie had always been interested in music, but she didn't want to do A-levels. A week-long Aim Higher project involving both Radio 1 and London Metropolitan University had a big impact.
It was quite scary at times, because I wasn't sure what it was going to be like for me, being in a place where I don't know anyone. But it sort of, in a way, gave me a push to understand what it would be like if I were to attend uni, working with students that have the same passion for music as I do, and that don't know me, I don't know them.
Sahir Ahmed was part of the same Aim Higher project. He left school with no qualifications at all, but was interested in music.
When I left school first, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I was doing. I was going off the rails in a way. But music always really kept me down to earth, always kept me on one level. Well, I went on a Radio 1 project for a week down in London Metropolitan University. Met a lot of people, they showed me around Radio 1, the actual building, and we got to sit in on a podcast, and it was fun just to learn about what it's like behind the scenes of the radio station. Right now I'm enrolled on a BTEC First Diploma in Music course, and after I finish this, I'll be able to access my National Diploma course, and from then I should have A-level equivalent grades, and that should hopefully take me on to university. If I didn't have the music, or I didn't have an ambition for music, I don't know where I'll be right now, and that is the truth.
Femi, who's in his third year at London Metropolitan University, believes the key is to raise awareness of the different routes into higher education. That A-levels aren't the only way in.
I think it's a very good idea, alternatives, because people don't get written off. Like, you can't just say, like, oh, because you didn't get grades that were up to standards, there's no future for you, you can't do A-levels, you can't go to university. I think the alternatives like BTEC National Diplomas, AVCs, they're really quite good, because it gives, people that may have thought like they did not have a future further in their education, it gives them a chance. I'm very grateful for that kind of chance that I got, because it helped me to carry on. And now I'm at university, so I think it's a really good thing.
An important aspect of Aim Higher's work is providing advice on the financial help available to families on low incomes.
When I was at school, there were a lot of people who didn't want to go to university, they didn't see point. Money put a lot of people off, but they don't tell you much about it at school, so you don't know how much help you can get. It's all just money, 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 money. And you don't know where it's going to come from.
A lot of people are put off by the cost of things and the price of things, and whether the family can deal with it or not.
Money is a big issue for students. They do worry about fees, and they hear what's on the media and so on about university fees. One of the good things is that we have, from the Aim Higher National project, we have booklets and so on for parents and for students, particularly for students who come from low-income families and so on. There is a lot of support that they can get if they know what's available.
The money that you have to pay for the course has gone up, for us undergraduate students this year. So it's a bit scary, and knowing how you're going to live your life financially. It's not too worrying, because I'm going to be at home for the first year at least. So it should be quite okay, it shouldn't be too difficult.
Student ambassadors like Femi have been given special training, so they have the right information to give young people in the schools they visit.
It's a training specifically designed so that you can educate the students more about financial, sort of like everything that has to do with finance that they'll encounter on going to university. Teaches you about all the sort of like bursaries you can get, grants, loans. Some of them already probably heard about, you know, all the kinds of loans you can get and just think, whoa, that's too expensive, or whoa, my parents can't afford it. So it's good to they really learn when you tell them about the finances as well.
Choosing to stay in the parental home for financial reasons is a growing trend, particularly amongst those students who come from homes with no history of higher education. Femi has lived with his mother throughout his degree course.
How old was I when this picture was taken?
About 4 years old, anyway.
In his role as AIM Higher Ambassador, Femi makes sure the young people he advises know that this is an option.
There's certain people that have a lot of responsibility at home. I mean, I'm like the only child of my mom, but there's other people that have like younger siblings, and they do help in like taking care of the younger siblings, or they might have parents with maybe disabilities. It's not always like a choice for them to leave home. Knowing that they could stay home, go to university, still experience like all the good stuff about university life. People tend to say like you don't get the full university experience unless you've actually lived on campus. But I don't feel I'm missing out on too much basically because, you know, I'm coming off with like less debt.
Giving parents of potential students advice and guidance and keeping them informed of the options available to their children is another key aspect of AIM Higher's work.
One of the ways that we know that AIM Higher is working is because we've had parents who've been to events where they've stood up and said, if it wasn't for AIM Higher, my son or daughter would not be at university now. And they're working with the second son now. And it is AIM Higher that has supported them to get their first son and for them to open doors to know that it is possible for their family.
The proportion of university students from disadvantaged economic and social backgrounds remains very small. AIM Higher is doing its best to widen participation, but it's an uphill struggle.
Over the recent years, up until last year, we saw a gradual increase in applications through UCAS from lower socio-economic groups. We're talking increases of less than the percentage every year. So it's very small numbers, but we have to put all this in context. And the gap between different social classes going on to higher education has been there since the inception of the system over 100 years ago. And AIM Higher has only been here for 6 years, but we believe we're making the movements that are necessary for longer-term change.
The figures may still be small, but for a significant number of students, AIM Higher's work is now helping them see university as an attainable goal.
My upbringing then would have expected me to carry on with the business as opposed to being educated, but it wasn't for me. And my perfect dream is to go to university, have an education, get a degree at the end, get a job, wife, children, just happiness really, and I think that university is the next step in attaining happiness.